What's happening, Wild fans? It is the MinnyIce Postcast for Game 8 for the Minnesota Wilds. And ironically, Game 8, 8 goals. Not for the Wild, but total. 5-3 win for the Wilds, which also moves them to 5-3 on the season. Jake, first off, we got our wish. Dean Evason tweaked the lines a little bit, and you start with probably the best period of hockey for the team on the entire season.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the funniest thing is that Johansson was the one to get it done. Yeah. 2 points. Everyone's coming after his throat. This guy sucks. Bench him, and then he puts him with Kaprizov and Eriksson, and he does pretty well. Obviously, the script changed as Fiala got thrown out of the game with that major penalty. And we can talk about that in a bit, but easily the best first period that we've seen so far. They were just absolutely all over them. And anytime you're up 3-0 at the end of the first, it's pretty special. So,
yeah, I mean, it paid immediate dividends. It got to where, though, in the second period, we were all kind of like, okay, here we go. We've seen it in the past where the team gets an early lead and they just say, okay, we just need to ride this out. And, I mean, it got to the point where it was 3-2 and we're like, what is happening? But ultimately got it done. Nick Bjugstad had a pretty crucial goal here this evening. And as you mentioned, a goal for Johansson, Kirill Kaprizov with a score, Kevin Fiala with a score, and the Yule log on fire again. And getting a rightfully deserved promotion to that second line. I think I like, or me likey, the Yule Eriksson and Kirill Kaprizov pairing. I'd like to see more of that.
Well, it's really interesting, right? Because, I mean, even going into this, like I said before, everyone was just ready to just throw Johansson to the side. You know, this guy just is not doing anything great. But if you look at things with that pairing, you get a playmaker in Johansson, you get a grinder in Eriksson, and you get a goal scorer in Kirill Kaprizov. Those three things mesh very well on lines typically. And I think that's what Evason thought of. You probably saw in practice a bunch, and he went with it tonight, and clearly it worked because it was their best offensive performance of the year.
Now, obviously, Kevin Fiala getting tossed from the game, a scary situation there because, you know, you don't ever want to see somebody get ridden face first into the boards. So thankfully it didn't at least look like it led to any serious injury for the Kings, but I don't know. Is that one that we're going to have to worry about Fiala maybe having to sit out a game after even missing the rest of this one?
I think so. You know, I mean, it's so weird because it's always the players that don't do that stuff a lot. Like they're not constantly putting themselves in those situations. They seem the ones for whatever reason to be penalized with suspensions and stuff, whereas the other guys get away with it. But I mean, that was pretty blatant. That was pretty bad, and Kevin Fiala knew it. You could tell he felt really bad about it afterwards. I think it's just one of those situations where it happened. It's done now. The Wild won the game. You forget about it. If he has to serve something, you do. If you don't, you know, that's a plus. But I think the biggest thing out of all that is that Matt Roy walked away from that and he skated off on his own. The big thing was that his head was tilted upwards when he went into the boards and not down, because it's when it's down and that's when it messes with the spine. And we've seen just way too much of that happen. And that can get really scary. So they were very, very cautious with it, and rightfully so. Just very happy that he got up and got away.
We've seen how crucial wins are for this team as now they vault up into second place in the West after the win tonight to go to 5-3, and now we get the lovely pleasure of seeing the Colorado Avalanche, who were expected to be, you know, they're expected to kind of run away with the West, and not exactly how they had envisioned things going, as they're sitting at 4-3 after 7 games. So always interesting to see Nathan McKinnon with the Avs, and should be a heck of a series.
It certainly will be. And the one thing that I kind of feel like a lot of us media members threw to the side was that it's not a regular season. Like, you're going to have to play these teams 7-8 times. It's like almost 7-8 different mini playoff series. So,
Right.
I mean, just because you're the Colorado Avalanche and you score so many goals, and I mean, we saw it last game, they poured it on with 7, I think. But you know, this is going to be their biggest test to date right here. This is the best team they've faced so far. So I'll be excited and anxious to see how they respond, especially if a guy like Kevin Fiala is out of the lineup for that game, or both, or whatever happens. Selfishly, I just want to do a quick plug. I hope that since it's a back-to-back, Hunter gets a start at home in Minnesota. Hunter Miska, for all you guys that don't know. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, that'd be pretty tight. Coverage will look a little different this weekend from us because we'll both be in the same spot. So videos will look a little different, but we still got you covered. Of course, we got report cards coming tomorrow morning. MinnyIce minutes from myself. Just want to tease, it won't happen tomorrow, but you and I have a weekly column that will drop next week on Friday that we'll be doing on a weekly basis. So in the future, you'll have some elite Friday content from us, but 5-3 win for the Wilds. MinnyIce has you covered after this is done with your 3 stars. So I almost forgot. We should go through just so that listeners know what they're looking for, who your 3 stars are, and then, of course, they can read your column, 3 stars of the night, for a little bit of an expanded look, too.
Yeah, well, I think I'm kind of going to just leave that to my column. I'm going to let everyone kind of, go to that. I still have to do a little bit of thinking and stuff because this is, for once, an interesting game.
For sure.
There was a lot of different things that actually happened in this one. So I got to marinate on that real quick, but that'll be out relatively soon, and fans can look forward to that. And I get the feeling there will be a little bit more Wild players in this mix than last time.
That's what we like to hear. MinnyIce Postcast. That's a wrap for tonight. As always, make sure to check out MinnyIce.com for everything you can think of Minnesota Wild related. See you bright and early in the morning.